Lawyers, ever walk off a win feeling so dirty you'd slam cuffs on your own wrists? Story 1. AIO. For becoming a missing person and allowing my friend to put himself on the line. I'm 21 years old and was diagnosed with autism at 11. I live in England, and I'm legally classed as a vulnerable adult, although I really don't agree with that label. I skipped a lot of school because it felt suffocating. There were overwhelming numbers of students, and the topics felt boring. I spent most of my time on computers, learning how to use RPG Maker and teaching myself basic coding. I wasn't too concerned about my GCSEs. I took English and maths because I knew I'd have to repeat them otherwise. My parents asked how I'd manage A-levels without proper GCSEs. I told them I could build a portfolio of my coding work and use it to get into subjects that matched my interests. They dismissed the idea, saying no one would accept an unofficial application and that my childish games would never lead to a career. They took away my laptop for a year, insisting I redo my GCSEs. But I just went to the library and used free programs and YouTube tutorials. By the time I turned 18, I expected to stay home longer than most people my age. Still, I was confident my coding skills were strong enough to get me a job soon. I also had decent connections through forums. My parents vaguely mentioned I'd need government support since I had an autism diagnosis and no formal qualifications. I assumed that meant things like universal credit or a workplace advisor. They handled most of the paperwork, and I had a few interviews with social workers. My parents reassured me they'd do most of the talking and said not to worry. But things escalated quickly. I began realizing how much control was being handed over to my parents. They were granted supervision over my bank accounts, even though I used them myself. They also said I needed my own space and arranged for me to move into a group home. At first, I agreed, thinking it would be a break from living with them. But life in the group home was heavily restricted. I was woken up at set times. I couldn't cook my own meals. I wasn't allowed to go out unless accompanied by a helper, and then only to the nearby town. My housemates have higher support needs than I do, and I've narrowly avoided a few serious incidents. The staff say I'll gain more independence if I prove I can be trusted. But whenever I try to do something on my own, like cooking or baking in the shared kitchen, or going to the cinema alone, I get denied. The main manager constantly complains about the budget and seems uninterested in helping. My parents told me not to apply for jobs with my coding portfolio because it could affect my government benefits. I applied anyway out of spite and got several interviews. When they found out, they scolded me and said my stubbornness showed that I wasn't as capable as I believed. My mum even said I'd probably get fired from most jobs. When I asked for my identification so I could remove their legal control over me, my mum refused. She told me I didn't understand what I was doing and warned I'd be homeless without the support structure in place after they pass away. After 18 months in that house, I tried to leave. The first time, I was brought back by police because of my legal status. The second time, I came more prepared. Comment 1. No disrespect to your parents. I assume they're well-intentioned and acting on what they believe is best. That said, I don't think they truly see who you are, and because of that, they haven't treated you fairly. You're an impressive person. What you've managed to do, despite the real barriers you've faced, is incredibly inspiring. Your post is clear and thoughtful, which shows that you understand your situation and can make sound decisions. I'd suggest researching the process for challenging the vulnerable adult designation and finding legal advice if you can. These labels are supposed to protect people, not trap them. Your skills in tech are very real and valuable, possibly more so than many academic credentials nowadays. I sincerely hope you're able to pursue the independence you deserve. Wishing you all the best. Comment 2. You're just trying to live your life and make your own choices, and everyone around you is treating you like you can't think for yourself. Your friend is helping you, not taking advantage. You're doing what you can to stay safe and become independent. You're not the one in the wrong here. Story 2. AIO for wanting to ruin my ex-friend by sending her chat to her employer? I don't know where to begin. I messaged a few people who owed me small amounts of money, hoping to get it back. Most of them said they couldn't repay me yet, which wasn't ideal, but I get it, I can't force anyone. These debts go back months, and 2 of them are years old, so maybe it caught them off guard that I suddenly reached out. I explained that I needed the money for my daughter's checkup this weekend, and that I won't be paid for another 2 weeks. One of those people kept leaving me on read. That really upset me. I kept messaging for updates, and then she finally replied, and what she said absolutely shocked me. It's been hours, and I'm still furious. I'm seriously considering forwarding the message to her employer. Now I'm probably going to have to take out more payday loans just to make sure my daughter doesn't miss her appointment. I'm so frustrated. It's hard to understand how people can act like responsibility doesn't matter. Comment 1. Nor, in my opinion. As long as you clearly said the money was a loan and expected it back, they do owe you. Wishing harm on anyone, especially a child who isn't involved, is unacceptable. I get that repeatedly messaging someone after they left you on read might have come off as a bit much, but their response was seriously out of line, especially given that they do, in fact, owe you money. That kind of attitude might be a red flag in a workplace, especially if they're in a customer-facing or trust-heavy role. Narrator response. Thanks, and I understand where you're coming from. I didn't need a full explanation, just a quick reply would have been fine. But she kept ignoring me, and it really hit a nerve. If she has time to read my messages, surely she has a few seconds to reply. Comment 2. How long has it been since you actually talked to this person, let alone lent them money? Their response was mean, no doubt, but reaching out after years might have reignited some resentment. Not excusing their reaction at all, but dragging an employer into it might just escalate things and cause you more stress. It's not worth it. Better to walk away from this one. Comment 3. YWBTA, if you send it to her employer. What she said was awful, but unless she works with vulnerable people or in a highly sensitive role, this doesn't relate to her job. Plus, provoking someone like that could backfire. You never know how far someone might go in response. Comment 4. Exactly. And if you send it to her employer, what do you really expect them to do? Fire her over a personal disagreement that has nothing to do with her work? That's a risky move that could even backfire. With no context, she might be able to claim harassment because of the repeated messages. No employer wants to be dragged into this kind of drama. The friendship is over. Learn from this and focus on your daughter. Comment 5. I'd say you're overreacting unless you both work for the same company. As disgusting as her message was, reporting private conversations to someone's employer just to get them in trouble is extreme. It's not like she said it publicly or on a work-related platform. Comment 6. It seems like you're in a tough spot, but lending money while struggling financially yourself, especially if it leads to payday loans, isn't sustainable. That doesn't excuse her behavior, but trying to harm her livelihood because of a personal dispute won't fix your situation. She may have said something truly awful, but putting her at risk of unemployment could make things worse for both of you. Comment 7. What she said was awful, but reporting her to her job over a private message likely won't accomplish anything. Her employer may not even believe you or might see this as a personal feud. It's just not worth the hassle. Learn the hard lesson about lending money to unreliable people and move on. There may be other, more productive ways to get support, maybe even look into crowdfunding or local aid if it comes to that. Comment 8. The message she sent is unacceptable, but trying to ruin her career over it is a waste of your energy. Don't let this situation drag you down emotionally. Block her, take the loss, and redirect your energy toward helping your daughter and protecting your peace of mind. Comment 9. It's honestly not okay to try and bring someone's job into a personal argument. What she said to you was hurtful, but that's something you deal with personally, not something to report to her employer. That kind of thinking is what makes professional boundaries so messy nowadays. Handle the situation directly or walk away, but trying to get her fired won't make anything better. Comment 10. The best way to move forward is to take the high road. Let her live with what she said. Focus on your daughter and your own path. Trying to get revenge will only drain you. Letting go sends the strongest message that she can't touch your peace. Story 3. AIO. For thinking my dad might be homophobic and racist? I'm 15, and I used to think my dad was a really good person, but as I've gotten older, some things have started to bother me. For instance, he's occasionally made racist comments about athletes on TV, including using a slur. He always says it's a joke and apologizes, but then it happens again. What's confusing is that he's very politically left-leaning and openly dislikes figures like Donald Trump and Peter Dutton, But recently, I realized I'm gay, and I've been thinking about how to come out to my parents. I'm pretty sure my mum would support me, but I'm not confident about how my dad would react. He tells me to man up a lot. If I cry and he's in a bad mood, he says I'm having some kind of breakdown. I'm naturally very emotional, and over time this has really affected me. His mood tends to swing depending on how his day at work went. He also often says things like, "When you have your wife and kids," as if being straight is just assumed. So, AIO? Comment 1. Yeah, using that kind of language even as a joke is racist. There's no softening that. And assuming your future as a straight man while dismissing your feelings is a red flag too. It's hard when someone you love has good qualities but still says or does harmful things. You sound like someone who's thinking deeply about this and being honest. That says a lot about your character. You deserve to be accepted for who you are. AIO. Stepmom wants me to sign away my inheritance. My dad passed away less than 3 weeks ago. Apparently, he didn't leave a will. He owned 2 homes, one of them fully paid off, and the other with a small balance left on the mortgage. I'm not sure about the status of his bank accounts or other assets, but he also owned a boat, motorcycles, a truck, and a few other things. After doing some research, I learned that because there's no will, the estate has to go through probate. The law in his state says that 50% of the assets go to the spouse, and the other 50% is divided among the surviving children. Today, my stepmom called all 5 of us his adult children and asked us to sign papers from her attorney giving up our share of the inheritance. I told her, no offense, but I'd need to speak with a lawyer first. Am I overreacting? Comment 1. WTF? Why would she think she's entitled to everything? No, nor. Tell her this will be handled legally. It would be interesting to know what your siblings said, but unless there's something you haven't mentioned, it sounds like she's trying to take what isn't hers. Narrator response. Apparently, my siblings are siding with her. They all said they'd probably sign. She gave this emotional story about losing my dad's social security check and how her own isn't enough to live on because she didn't work during their marriage. But I know that's not entirely true. She can file to receive survivor benefits from his social security, which is a higher amount. I'm not falling for her guilt-tripping about being left with nothing. Comment 2. You're not overreacting at all. She's trying to take full control of everything. Don't sign anything. Get your own lawyer and make sure everything is handled through the probate process. Comment 3. Why would you give up your share of your father's estate just because someone demanded it? If your dad had wanted his wife to inherit everything, he would have written a will to say so. A lot of people don't bother with one because they know the law will divide things the way they want. Half to the spouse, half to the children. Don't throw away what he left you. This is your legal right. Comment 4. Even if your siblings sign over their shares, she'll be getting 90%. So she's not exactly struggling. And you're right, as the surviving spouse, she can apply for his social security benefits. So either she doesn't know that, or she's not being entirely honest with you. Before you make any decision, talk to a probate lawyer and make sure you understand your rights. Comment 5. You already explained how it works. The children are legally entitled to half. Your stepmom is counting on you, not knowing your rights, or being too emotionally overwhelmed to push back. This isn't about being greedy, this is about securing your future and protecting your father's legacy. Get your own lawyer and don't sign anything without professional advice. AIO. My boyfriend developed a UIA addiction, and I'm considering leaving. Hi. I don't usually post for advice, but I'm really lost right now. I'm 19 and he's 22. He always said he was more of a social user when it came to J, which I wasn't thrilled about to begin with. But on Friday, I ran into one of his friends in public. The friend asked if I knew what was going on with him, and when I said no, he explained everything that my boyfriend has been using daily for the past 4 or 5 months and hiding it from me. I confronted my boyfriend over text right away, and now he won't meet up with me because he says he's embarrassed. I love him deeply, he's the most amazing person I've ever been with, but I don't know what to do. I'm still young, and so is he. Would I be overreacting if I walked away? Or should I try to support him through this? Comment 1. I don't understand the lack of empathy in some replies. This is a man who's clearly struggling, and he admitted it when asked. He didn't lie or manipulate, he just told the truth. Now people are telling you to dump him at the first sign of trouble? That's not how love works. We're supposed to support each other through hard times. Comment 2. This is really difficult. I lost myself once trying to save someone when I was your age. He was my best friend and like family to me. His struggle with addiction lasted years clean 1 month, relapsing the next. I was constantly anxious, wondering if I'd get that cool. It nearly broke me. He passed away shortly after his 25th birthday. It's been 10 years and I still carry that loss. I had to walk away before he died, just to protect my own mental health. I wanted to be there for him, but I couldn't keep sacrificing myself. Sometimes, walking away is the kindest thing you can do for both of you. Comment 3. She's 19. Telling her to walk away isn't cold, it's responsible. Year can completely change who a person is. It affects mood, decision-making, even personality. Addicts often relapse for years. It's a rough road, and it's not fair to expect someone so young to carry that burden. Love isn't enough to fix this. You're still growing, you don't need to start your adult life with someone battling this kind of issue. Get out now before it becomes your problem too. Comment 4. Addiction is more than just a tough time. I want to support him, but I honestly can't see myself enduring years of this if it ends up like my dad. My mom stuck by my dad for decades until he passed away from an opioid overdose. I wasn't fully exposed to how serious it was because my mum shielded me, but it was a long road. My boyfriend is only a few months in, but if it turns out to be anything like that, I don't think I can go through it again. Comment 5. This really isn't something Reddit can answer for you, it's something only you can decide after a lot of thought. I was married to someone who was in recovery when we met. We had children together, and his addiction returned after a major tragedy. No matter how much support I gave, he had to choose to stay sober on his own. I watched someone I loved fade into someone I barely recognized. If you choose to stay, I strongly recommend in-person support groups like Al-Anon or Nar-Anon. Even if he's not ready to get clean, you'll need support for yourself. But you're 19, you don't have to tie your future to this. It's okay to step back for your own well-being. Comment 6. NTA. What he's doing has the potential to destroy both of your lives. God can damage his brain, affect his mood, and lead to poor decisions. If he doesn't immediately commit to rehab or getting help, you need to walk away. Addiction isn't a character flaw, but you're not obligated to stay and risk being dragged down with him. Your first responsibility is to yourself. Comment 7. Addiction is incredibly complex. It's not as easy as just quit. Sometimes people use substances like dig to numb emotional pain, anxiety, or depression. Your boyfriend may be dealing with deeper issues that he hasn't shared with you. Still, that doesn't mean it's your job to fix it. If you do want to support him, professional help is essential. He may resist it, especially at first. You might try encouraging him, but be prepared that he may not change. If you do choose to try, make sure you have boundaries in place and support for yourself. Just remember, no matter how much you care about someone, only they can decide to get better. Comment 8. You're young, and I say this with care, you can't fix him. When I was 17, I dated someone who turned out to be addicted to heroin. He told me straight up not to ask him to stop. I walked away, and I'm thankful I did. Addiction is a long, complicated struggle. Your love alone won't cure it, and staying might only cause you long-term pain. You can care deeply about someone and still choose to protect your peace. Comment 9. He's not too embarrassed to see you, he's likely using again and wants space to continue. Asking for a few more days is probably just him buying time. Even if he promises to quit, that doesn't erase the fact that he's been hiding it for months. Recovery takes long-term effort and full commitment. Right now, he's not ready for that, and that makes it impossible to have a healthy relationship. Unless he gets clean and maintains sobriety on his own for a significant amount of time, you should walk away. Comment 10. Here's a different perspective. My fiancé was addicted to G. He used daily and even got me to try it a few times. It got to the point where he lost his job and would yell at me when I said I didn't want to join in. One night, after he disappeared mid-date to go buy more, I confronted him, and he still wouldn't give it up. I called the police on him out of desperation, not to get him arrested, but to shock him into realizing what he was risking. He got help after that, and we've now been clean as a couple for 2 years. We did couples therapy and worked hard to rebuild trust. It was a nightmare, but now we're happy. That said, recovery only started when he made the decision himself. I couldn't force it. Comment 11. You're too young to be carrying this. Huge use leads to major mental and physical changes, mood swings, loss of sleep, weight changes, even long-term heart and nasal damage. I watched a close family member go through it and nearly lose his life. He's alive now, but still struggles with long-term effects, even in sobriety. Being with someone in active addiction means constant anxiety and emotional whiplash. You'll always worry, even when they seem okay. It's exhausting. You deserve a future where you feel safe and stable, not one where you're constantly in crisis mode. Please take care of yourself. Story 6. AO for wanting to ruin my ex-friend by sending her chat to her employer. I don't know where to begin. I messaged a few people who owed me small amounts of money, hoping to get it back. Most of them said they couldn't repay me yet, which wasn't ideal, but I get it, I can't force anyone. These debts go back months, and 2 of them are years old, so maybe it caught them off guard that I suddenly reached out. I explained that I needed the money for my daughter's checkup this weekend, and that I won't be paid for another 2 weeks. One of those people kept leaving me on read. That really upset me. I kept messaging for updates, and then she finally replied, and what she said absolutely shocked me. It's been hours, and I'm still furious. I'm seriously considering forwarding the message to her employer. Now I'm probably going to have to take out more payday loans just to make sure my daughter doesn't miss her appointment. I'm so frustrated. It's hard to understand how people can act like responsibility doesn't matter. Comment 1. Nor, in my opinion, as long as you clearly said the money was a loan and expected it back, they do owe you. Wishing harm on anyone, especially a child who isn't involved, is unacceptable. I get that repeatedly messaging someone after they left you on read might have come off as a bit much, but their response was seriously out of line, especially given that they do, in fact, owe you money. That kind of attitude might be a red flag in a workplace, especially if they're in a customer-facing or trust-heavy role. Narrator response. Thanks, and I understand where you're coming from. I didn't need a full explanation, just a quick reply would have been fine. But she kept ignoring me, and it really hit a nerve. If she has time to read my messages, surely she has a few seconds to reply. Comment 2. How long has it been since you actually talked to this person, let alone lent them money? Their response was mean, no doubt. But reaching out after years might have reignited some resentment. Not excusing their reaction at all, but dragging an employer into it might just escalate things and cause you more stress. It's not worth it, better to walk away from this one. Comment 3. I'm going to be very direct with you, because in a situation like this, you need clarity, not just validation. Based on what you've described, yes, you would be the asshole if you send that message to her employer, but more importantly than that, you would be naive, you would be reckless. And you could be putting yourself in a situation far worse than the one you're already in. What she said to you in that message was awful. It was cruel, manipulative, and completely out of line. Your anger is justified. Your desire for her to face some kind of consequence for her behavior is completely understandable. But using her job as a weapon to achieve that justice is a profound miscalculation, and it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how the professional world works and how unstable people react to being cornered. Let's break down the professional side of this first. You are assuming that her employer will receive your evidence, see the situation from your perspective, recognize her as a terrible person, and take immediate disciplinary action. That is a fantasy. Unless she works with vulnerable people, children, the elderly, patients, or holds a highly sensitive role requiring a public trust or security clearance, her off-the-clock personal disputes are, frankly, not her employer's problem. When you send that email, you are not a concerned citizen reporting professional misconduct. You are an outsider inserting yourself into their workplace. They will see you as a source of drama. They will see her as an employee embroiled in a messy personal feud. Their primary goal will be to mitigate any potential legal liability for the company. They will likely tell her to block you and not engage. They will likely tell you to cease contact with their employee. They will not fire her. They will not discipline her in any meaningful way. They will simply build a firewall and hope the problem, which, in this context, is you, goes away. You will have achieved nothing except to perhaps get yourself a warning from their legal department. But that's the best case scenario. The real reason you shouldn't do this has nothing to do with her employer. It has to do with her. And this is the part you need to think about very carefully. Provoking someone like that could backfire spectacularly. You never, ever know how far a person who has already demonstrated poor judgment and a capacity for cruelty might go when they feel they have nothing left to lose. Let me tell you a story. I once had a dispute with a neighbor. It was a classic, escalating feud over noise and property lines. He was aggressive and unreasonable. One day, he intentionally keyed my car. I had it on my security camera, clear as day. I had all the proof I needed to go to the police, and that is what I should have done. But I was furious. I wanted more than just a police report. I wanted to hit him where it hurt. I did some digging, found out where he worked for a local construction company, and I sent the video to his boss with a scathing email about his unstable character. I thought I was so smart. I thought I had won, but he didn't get fired. He got a stern warning from his boss and was likely humiliated. And now, he knew where I lived, and he knew I was willing to cross a line from a civil dispute into trying to destroy his livelihood. I had escalated the conflict from a disagreement into a war. The retaliation was slow and terrifying. A few days later, my tires were slashed. The week after that, a rock came through my living room window in the middle of the night. It took a restraining order and months of living in fear, constantly looking over my shoulder, before it finally ended. I learned a very hard lesson. You do not intentionally provoke a person who has already shown you they are not rational. You don't know what their breaking point is. Your friend, or ex-friend, has already shown you who she is. She is someone who, when confronted about a debt she owes, responds with vicious, cruel, personal attacks. She is not a rational actor. You are looking at this as a chess move, thinking that if you take her queen, she will concede the game. But people like her don't play by the rules of chess. When you corner them, they don't concede. They flip the entire board over, set the pieces on fire, and try to burn your house down. Think about the potential consequences. What happens when she loses her job and blames you entirely? Are you prepared for the harassing phone calls, the slanderous social media posts, her showing up at your home? Are you prepared for her to try and interfere in your life, with your job? By attacking her livelihood, you are giving her a new focus for her anger. The money is gone. You have to accept that. The friendship is over. You have to mourn that. But your peace and your safety are still intact. Don't gamble them away for the fleeting, hollow satisfaction of a revenge that will likely accomplish nothing and could cost you everything. Block her. Delete every trace of her from your life. Focus on your daughter. Focus on yourself. That is how you win. Comment 4. I've read your story and the message she sent you. It's disgusting. It's an awful, unacceptable thing for one person to say to another, especially someone they supposedly cared about and who helped them out financially. Your anger is completely justified. Your desire to strike back, to make her feel a fraction of the pain and humiliation she inflicted on you, is a deeply human instinct. And right now, the biggest, reddest, most tempting button you can push is the one labeled "Contact her employer." It feels like the ultimate move, a way to deliver real-world consequences for her actions. I'm writing this to urge you, from a place of pure, dispassionate strategy, to take your hand off that button. Sending that screenshot to her job is like trying to put out a grease fire with a bucket of water. It's an instinctive reaction that feels right for a split second, right before it causes a massive, uncontrollable explosion that will likely only burn you. Let's walk through what actually happens when you press send. For the sake of argument, let's say you're right about everything. Your story is 100% accurate. Her message is as vile as it seems, and you are morally in the right. None of that matters to her employer. Her boss, let's call him Dave, receives your email with the screenshots. Dave doesn't see a righteous quest for justice. He sees a ticking time bomb of personal drama that has just landed on his desk. He sees a potential legal headache. He sees an HR nightmare. His first, second, and third thought will not be about who is right or wrong. It will be, how do I make this go away with the minimum possible liability for the company? He will call her into his office. She will see the screenshots. And what do you think she will do? She will cry. She will deny the context. She will claim you are an unstable, vindictive ex-friend who is harassing her. She will say you are taking things out of context and trying to ruin her life over a personal disagreement. Now, your objective evidence is just one side of a messy, unverifiable personal feud. Who is Dave going to believe? His employee, who he works with every day, or a random, angry person sending him screenshots from an anonymous email address? He's not going to fire her. No competent employer would terminate someone over a private message exchange that has no bearing on their work performance. That's a wrongful termination lawsuit waiting to happen. The most likely outcome is that he will give her a formal warning about professional conduct, advise her to block you on all platforms, and then instruct her to never speak of this again. Then, you might even get a polite but firm email from their HR department or legal counsel advising you to cease all contact. You will have spent all that emotional energy, and the only result will be that you are now formally documented as a source of external conflict. You haven't won. You've just made yourself the problem they need to manage. Now, let's talk about the even more important part, your own situation. You mentioned you're struggling financially, even resorting to payday loans, partly because of the money you lent her. Your ultimate goal should be to improve your own stability, not to worsen hers out of spite. So let's play out the revenge fantasy again. Let's say, against all odds, you succeed. Your email is so compelling, and her boss is so reckless, that they actually fire her. Congratulations, the person who owes you money now has zero income. The statistical probability of you ever seeing a single cent of that money has just dropped from highly unlikely to a mathematical impossibility. You haven't fixed your financial problem. You have just made it permanent. You've inflicted damage, yes, but you've done it at your own expense. It's a classic case of cutting off your nose to spite your face. This situation is awful, but it offers a hard lesson, and it's not about her, it's about you. It's the hard lesson about lending money to unreliable people, especially when you can't afford to lose it. You have to, for your own sanity, write that money off as a loss. Consider it the tuition for a very expensive class in financial boundaries. The best way to move forward is to take the high road, not because she deserves your forgiveness, but because you deserve your peace. Don't let this situation drag you down and consume your emotional energy. Block her, delete her number, erase her from your life. Redirect the energy you would have spent plotting this futile revenge toward helping your daughter and protecting your own mind. Let her live with what she said. The strongest message you can possibly send is one of complete and total indifference. It tells her that her words, her actions, and her drama no longer have the power to touch you. That is how you truly win. Comment 5. I can feel the rage and the sense of profound injustice coming through your post. It's a toxic, corrosive combination, and it's leading you down a path of revenge that feels righteous in this moment. The idea of reporting her to her job feels like a clean, powerful strike that will finally deliver the consequences she deserves. But I'm here to tell you that the victory you're seeking doesn't lie down that road. Let's first talk about boundaries, because they are at the heart of this. The situation between you and her, as painful as it is deeply personal. It's a story of a broken friendship and a betrayed trust, her professional life, her job, her relationship with her employer that is an entirely separate universe. The moment you decide to cross that boundary and bring your personal conflict into her professional space, you are stooping to a level of messy, chaotic retaliation that ultimately helps no one. This kind of thinking, using someone's job as leverage in a personal dispute, is what makes professional boundaries so complicated and toxic these days. It creates a world where every disagreement has the potential to spiral into professional ruin. The clean, honorable paths here are to either handle this situation directly with her, which seems impossible given her behavior, or to do the much harder, but ultimately more powerful thing, walk away completely. Using her boss as your weapon is a move that has no honor, and it will likely tarnish you more than it does her in the long run. But let's set aside the ethics of it for a moment, and talk about the most valuable resource you have right now, your own energy. Think about how much space this situation is occupying in your head. Every second you spend plotting this revenge, rereading her awful message, imagining the fallout at her job, that is a second of your life force that you are giving to her. Your energy, which is a finite and precious resource, is being completely consumed by your anger towards her. You need that energy for yourself. You need it to heal. You need it to focus on your daughter. You need it to figure out a path forward from your own financial struggles. Every ounce of energy you spend on this futile crusade against her is energy you are not spending on building a better life for yourself. She has already taken your money. Please, do not let her take your peace of mind, too. That is a price you simply cannot afford to pay. And that brings me to the final point. The one that seems the most difficult to accept, but is actually the most liberating. The best, most powerful way to move forward is to take the high road. Let her live with the ugliness of what she said and did. True power isn't found in revenge, it's found in indifference. Revenge is a hot, loud, messy emotion. It keeps you tethered to the person who hurt you, locked in a toxic dance with them. By trying to get her fired, you are screaming at the universe, "You still have power over me. Your actions still affect me so much that I will dedicate my time and energy to your destruction." But by blocking her, by writing off the money as a painful lesson learned, and by focusing entirely on your own happiness and success, you send a much stronger, much colder, and much more devastating message. The message is this: you no longer have any effect on me. Your words are meaningless. Your drama is not my problem. You no longer exist in my world. That is true power. That is how you win. It's not about letting her get away with it. She will never get away from herself. Let her be her own punishment. Your victory comes from making your own life so full, so peaceful, and so successful, that the memory of her and her petty cruelty becomes nothing more than a faint, irrelevant echo from a life you no longer live. Letting go isn't giving up. It's winning the war by refusing to fight a pointless, soul-draining battle.